I got the bulk of this story from an online journal. I should clarify that it isn't mine, so there may be elements that could benefit from some sober and rational explanation, and won't always be able to offer that. My name is Jason, but my friends call me Jace. The journal in question belonged to a friend of mine, or rather, someone that used to be a friend of mine. It was on a public journaling website, which many of you will know of. Perhaps you're even a member yourself. I'd forgotten all about it, to tell you the truth. I'd long grown out of blogging my every thought, feeling, minor achievement and perceived injustice in the world, with the faint hope that throngs of internet will find me fascinating. I never deleted my account, however, and with little thought, I was able to recall my password and log in. After a quick browse through my entries, rolling my eyes, chuckling and thanking that I wasn't a ranting teenager anymore, I decided to check on the journals of a few of my old friends. Most were inactive accounts, or had simply not been updated for years. But then, as my gaze skimmed along the list of the abstract, comical and melodramatic blogger names, my eye fixed on one that caused my blood to chill in my veins and a tumult of painful memories to flood my mind, shattering a pleasant nostalgia. The Trickster 87. Oh God. Patrick. Pat, who I'd attended college with, gone on lads' holidays with, and years before been tight teenage friends. Pat had grown up in the same smallish town as me. Our parents knew each other, we'd shared a lot over the years. He'd been like a brother to me, and I to him. We'd have promised to always been there for each other, if saying something like that hadn't been suicide for the masculinity. But I had always felt that it was an unspoken understanding. Thinking back to our time together at college, we worked well together. I was what you might call sensible, a little reserved, but also more level-headed than Pat. I tended to be the one with a job and a handle on our plans for the weekend. He was just all about living life, really outgoing, but not obnoxious with it. The kind of guy always at the centre of the fun, but still pretty intelligent. He'd joke that he was studying the history of literature and weed. He was usually in a group of people who was making laugh by acting the clown. You know the kind of guy. He had a lot of friends, guy friends and girlfriends, and oh yeah, and the girlfriends. He was in and out of relationships more times than I could remember. There was generally minimal drama, some of the relationships barely reaching a full week. He insisted to me that he always ended things with a genuine, let's still be friends, yeah? But the girls rarely took him up on this offer. One night when we were just chilling in his dorm room, doing a little smoking and perhaps more than a little drinking, he confided in me his sincere desire to find the right girl and settle down. I snorted my disbelief and said, yeah, I'm sure, glancing over at his door where a petite brunette in a very short denim skirt and almost see-through t-shirt had exited a few hours ago when I arrived. But he sat up and continued.
No, seriously, man. I know there's been a lot of girls.
He grinned at this point and glanced at his phone out of the corner of his eye, clearly expected to find a text from another girl at some point that night.
Well, it's just because I'm a passionate person. You know, if I meet a girl I like, I want her to be my girlfriend. Right there, right now. If it doesn't work out, I'll worry about that later. Cross that bridge when we come to it. You know.
He took another drink.
Seriously though, if I met the right kind of girl, all bets would be off. That would be me. Sorting it all out. No more messing around, no more cheating. Gotta make a real go of it. You know, treat her like a princess, with respect. That's what love is, man.
Yeah, I know, I said, considering his words. I just want to ask you one thing.
Sure, shoot.
When the fuck did you start reading Cosmo magazine? I grinned broadly, still slouched on his couch. I raised my arm a little too slowly to deflect the empty beer can thrown at my head. We both laughed. Thinking about those days gives me a strange feeling in my chest. A sort of tight numbness, where my ribs feel constricted but my heart beats stronger than ever. It's bittersweet. Remember my old friend in the time before? Before everything just went crazy. Looking at his online journal, I see it's set to private, viewable only by his friends. To my knowledge, that means me, and maybe only 2 or 3 other people. I scroll through the entries until I see a significant date gap. One entry, titled something about summer break dating from somewhere in the middle of high school, and has a gap after it of nearly 6 years, and is followed by an entry titled simply, Day 1 Sunday. I have read the story I'm about to share with you possibly 100 times over. It doesn't get any easier, but to make the situation clearer to you, I will include my own notes between some of the entries to provide context, and later on, a connection to reality. None of the entries had any comments, seemingly never being read after publishing, as if Pat was just posting his desperate story into the void.
Day 1, Sunday.
Dear Diary. Huh, this feels kind of weird. I haven't been on here in so long, not since I was a teenager. Well, where to begin catching you up? I'm a 20-something, 150-something pound, damn good-looking college struggler. Oh, thank you. It was recommended to me by Dr. Chen that I keep a journal and update it with how I'm feeling day to day. I guess Sunday seems to be a bit odd, but hell, this might be an odd journal. Anyway, I got into some trouble recently. Apparently I have issues with authority figures and anger management. Yeah, another way to say that is, I don't take bullshit from anybody. I guess I can overreact sometimes though. I'm working on it.
The trouble Pat refers to in this entry is nearly being kicked out of college for smoking weed. We had a fairly sympathetic staff on our campus, but you still couldn't wander around blatantly smoking in broad daylight. Needless to say, there was a confrontation. Pat didn't react well, and there was a rumour that things got violent. It should have resulted in immediate expulsion, removed from campus, and possible jail time. But Pat managed to sweet-talk his way out of that, explained that he was struggling from the stress of college, work, and some personal problems, and instead was referred for mandatory counselling. We high-fived about it back then.
Day 2, Monday.
Hey again. Well, this is day 2 on my path of self-discovery or whatever. I had my second session with Dr. Chen today. She's my counsellor. Kind of weird, Chinese chick. I think she's in her 50s. She's really small. I feel so tall when I'm in a room with her. Anyway, she's pretty nice. Encourages me to talk about my feelings. It still feels weird. I know I can be a bit impatient, and sometimes I just flip out if people push me too far. But Dr. Chen doesn't seem to think that's a problem. She says I need to let the anger out. It's strange. She talks about it like it were alive, like an animal or something, in a cage. In captivity, your anger will rife and coil, fighting it against its bonds, forever seeking release and liberty. There is no good that can come from strangulating it. It is no noble act to deny its freedom. Maybe it will start to make more sense after a few more sessions. Whatever. Don't have time to write more. I have plans tonight. It's gonna get crazy.
I never met Dr. Chen, and Pat never talked much about his sessions. His appointments were off campus, and as he had his own car, there was never a need to give him a lift, and in doing so, scope out where he was going. All in all, none of his friends seemed to pay it much thought. The plans he mentioned were a party at a friend of ours' house. I don't remember much about it. We all got pretty wasted. I do know we both hooked up with some girls that night. For me, it didn't go any further than the next morning. But for Pat, it was different.
Day 5, Thursday.
Hey. Sorry I haven't updated in a couple of days. I haven't been home. I met this girl the other night at this party. I was crazy drunk. She is awesome though. We've been hanging out in her apartment. She isn't at any of the local colleges. I was surprised because the party was mostly college students. It's cool though, as it means none of my friends know her, and so they can't start talking about us. I've probably had more girlfriends than is really okay. I'm not a total arsehole or anything. I just find it hard to settle, I guess. But Nicole, that's her name, is great. Amazing, actually. She works in a coffee shop in town. She had to go in yesterday, but instead of going home, I just went in with her and watched her serve customers all day. She's tall, but not too tall, slim and sort of tan, but not in a fake way. She has long, dark brown hair that feels like cool liquid to run your fingers through, and she has the most beautiful face with big brown hazel eyes. Part of me wants to take her out just to show her off to everyone, but another part wants me to hide her away from the world so I don't have to share her.
Let me just say this about that. I'd say the second part of his mind won over in the end because we, myself, and the rest of Pat's friends, never got to meet Nicole more than once. From that day on, we all began seeing less and less of Pat. He was always at his new girlfriend's house, or at his appointments, dozing through class, or on the rare occasion he was in his dorm he was unconscious, sleeping the sleep of the dead.
Day 6, Friday.
See? I'm doing my best to update daily like Dr. Chen said. She didn't seem pissed that I missed a few appointments. That's good, because I was kind of worried I'd be in some kind of trouble. She just seemed to be interested to hear about Nicole. I must have talked about her for nearly the whole session. I had to stop myself a couple of times because I started talking too fast. I feel pumped, full of adrenaline. I told her that Nicole wears a braided bracelet around her ankle, just like the ones Dr. Chen has on her tiny wrists. She smiled and said they are for good luck or something. More encouragement to update journal. Will do. Am doing. See?
Day 7. Saturday.
Called Nicole today. She said she was in work and couldn't talk. No problem. I went to the coffee shop and waited for her lunch break. We drank coffee and we talked. She's so great. We have the same taste in music, and movies, and most things. I felt ready to tell her about my appointments with Dr. Chen, reassuring her that I'm not dangerous or anything. I just did a stupid thing. She was so understanding. It felt like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders when she smiled her beautiful smile at me and said she looked for a counsellor herself after a car accident a couple of years ago, and thinks counselling is really helpful. But she's never heard of Dr. Chen. Turns out she's into some alternative therapies too. Whatever. It's cool.
Day 8. Sunday.
Spent the day with Nicole. Was supposed to work on a college assignment. Whatever. Nicole is more important to me right now. We shared a lot. I explained a bit about my frustration issues and some of the angry outbursts. She seemed cool with it. She's so awesome. She gave me a little clay creature thing. I called it a gargoyle, and she actually said it was called a grotesque. It's an ugly little bastard, but she says it will protect me if I keep it in my dorm room. She has one too, a pale, goblin-looking thingy, made out of cool white stone. It's much creepier. I'm planning to tell Dr. Chen about it. I reckon it will be right up her street.
The hairs on my arms and neck stood up as waves of goose pimples ran across my body when I read this light and cheerful entry. In the really bad days at the end, I remember Pat mumbling to herself about the grotesque. Just the word itself still sends a shudder down my spine.
Day 9. Monday.
Dr. Chen totally approves of the grotesque. She recommends I keep it in my room and that I talk to it, telling it my worries and what is making me angry. I think it's to give me something to vent at when I'm not calm enough to write in this journal. It sounded pretty hippy-dippy, but when Nicole texted me earlier this evening to say she wasn't feeling well and didn't want to hang out, I was talking to the little clay creature about how that upset me, and afterwards I felt oddly better. I wonder if Nicole talks to hers too.
Day 10. Tuesday.
Nicole wasn't feeling well today. Reckons it's the start of the flu or something, and she didn't meet me for lunch. I decided to go over to her apartment and bring her some food and flu remedies from the pharmacy. I don't mind. Just getting to see her is enough for me. In the supermarket, I took much longer than I normally would, agonising over which juice she might prefer and what would be the best soup to bring her. It felt so important to get everything perfect, because she is perfect. When I got to her building, I almost sprinted up the stairs to the 4th floor apartment. I had butterflies in my stomach waiting at the door. She answers wearing a dressing gown, her eyes look a little watery, and her nose was chapped and a little red from tissues. But she still looked amazing. She said she didn't want to kiss me in case I caught her flu. I didn't care if I caught it. I'd catch the plague for her. We watched TV and talked all afternoon into the evening. I asked her if she talks to her grotesque. She does.
Day 11. Wednesday.
Nicole wanted to spend the day in bed recovering from flu. So I spent the day with Jason, our friends Kenny and Chris. We went to the game store, second-hand record store, talked a bit. I wonder when Nicole will be feeling better again. I texted her a couple of times and only got one reply. I hope she's okay.
It might not sound like much, but that was the first day in what seemed like ages that I was able to convince Pat to come out with us for more than an hour or so. He didn't talk much, and we all found that strange. He was never normally so quiet, and although he seemed so alive with energy, so much so it seemed as though his body twitched with the effort to contain it, nothing seemed to interest him for more than a couple of seconds. It was like he just didn't care. That there was something preying on his mind, driving him to distraction. We were all worried and told him so, but he shrugged it off.
Day 12. Thursday.
Nicole is feeling better. I went round early and we had breakfast together. I offered to cancel my appointment with Dr. Chen this afternoon so we could spend more time together, but she said she needed to go into work after taking those days off sick. This kind of annoyed me. I'm willing to make sacrifices in my life to put her first. She doesn't seem willing to do the same. I went to my session. Today Dr. Chen talked about releasing rage. She said anger was like a poison and it was better out than in. She explained that people have a misguided view that controlling your anger means you are disciplined. But in actual fact, People who can find the focus of their rage and direct it accurately can channel untapped power beyond anything they've ever done before. It's when anger spills out all over the place that things get messy. That makes sense to me. I had to admit, this is not what I expected from counselling.
Day 13/14. Friday night, Saturday morning.
Not really in the mood to write an update. Went out tonight with Nicole to a party. Was excited to introduce her to my friends. Everything was fine at first. Jason didn't seem impressed. I thought he'd be supportive of my new relationship. I'm really happy with Nicole. Everyone else thought she was great, of course. In fact, a few guys were a little too friendly with her. In fact, I'm sure they were trying to flirt with her. And was she flirting back? I don't know. I had to leave before Jason could notice and rub it in my face. He's just jealous because I found the perfect girl. He'll try and pick it apart. He made fun of me when I told him I felt something really special for Nicole. I can't give him a chance to prove he was right for not taking me seriously. I love Nicole.
I honestly have no idea where he got the idea that I would try and pick his relationship apart. I was happy for Pat, a little concerned for him, sure, but Nicole seemed really nice and I was pleased for them both. He had seemed a little on edge that night. Didn't drink much, didn't socialise much. Nicole was being friendly, chatting to a bunch of us, guys and girls. I didn't notice her flirt with anyone. But at around midnight, he pulled her to one side. I heard them having a hushed but agitated conversation, and they abruptly left. It hurts me imagining Pat saw me as someone who would try and resent his newfound happiness. That must have been why he was so resistant to the help I tried to offer him later on.
Day 15. Sunday.
Feels shitty. Last entry was in the early hours of day 12 after that party. Waste of time. My friends were all idiots. I fell asleep as afternoon was approaching and slept the day away at Nicole's apartment. It is so wonderful being in bed next to her. She was a bit upset that I wanted to leave the party early the other night, but I explained I just wasn't comfortable and she accepted it. She's so understanding. I felt immediately better once we were alone. We lay in bed as we normally do, with me spooning her soft, slim frame, one arm draped round her waist, holding her hand tightly. I feel so safe there. So calm.
Day 16. Monday.
Met Jason at class today. He didn't meet my eye. I suddenly felt a stab of guilt for being such a jerk to him the other night. I apologised and he said it was cool. I didn't explain everything to him though, just in case. I had another appointment with Dr. Chen this afternoon. She asked me if I was acting on my anger, but acting appropriately. I said, I thought so. She said I must offer kindness to those who deserve it instead of wasting love on ingrates. When walking into open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers me, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him. Strange advice. Kinda makes sense though.
Day 17. Tuesday.
I can't stand living in the dorms anymore. The constant noise of other people's music, their footsteps, muffled conversations reverberating through the walls. It's driving me crazy. I can't switch off anymore. There's no silence. No peace to be had anywhere in these walls. I've been talking to my Grotesque. I've named him Chen, after Dr. Chen. And it really seems to help to have a face to vent to, even if it is an ugly one. I think I'm going to ask Nicole if I can stay with her for a while.
Day 18. Wednesday.
I stayed last night with Nicole. It was great. I feel so comfortable around her. I feel like there's this wire coil wound tightly in my chest all the time, but when I'm with her, it unwinds and I can relax. I didn't bring little Chen with me. He's still on the shelf in my dorm room. I've heard Nicole whispering to her little goblin creature sometimes. It's pretty cute. The whispering, not the grotesque. Unlike the one she gave me, which looks like a cartoon gnome. Hers is truly hideous. Actually quite scary despite its tiny size. It has this wide, flat head and lantern jaw, bristling with what looks like a row of shark teeth. Its body is gaunt and elongated, arched in an awkward crouch. It has no nose and most of its skin is smooth and white. Wait, what am I talking about? Skin? What it is made of is entirely white. Apart from its eyes, they are small, beady and totally black. I don't know how she can take comfort from that, but she seems to tell it everything.
We didn't see Pat for several days from this point on. I'll just paste his entries as I read them, and there is no further explanation of the next few days that I can offer, and for that I apologise.
Day 19. Thursday.
I got a text from my friend Jessica this morning. Nicole saw it on my phone and asked who Jessica was. No, not asked. Demanded. I explained that Jessica was just a friend and wanted to know how I was because I'd been missing a few classes recently. I don't know if Nicole believed me or not. I'm hurt. Genuinely. I don't know why she would mistrust me. I've given her every reason to have faith in my feelings for her. I talked to Dr. Chen about it in my session this afternoon. She says being quick to suspicion can be a sign of a guilty conscience. Could Nicole have something to hide?
Day 20. Friday.
I'm positive now. Nicole isn't being entirely honest with me. I don't know if she shares my feelings. She's been less and less talkative, sort of irritable. I asked her if it was her time of the month and she told me not to be so fucking sexist. I don't know what her problem is. She's been talking to her Grotesque again and texting on her phone a lot. She gives me a dirty look when I look at my phone. I think she might be cheating on me. I walked into her living room earlier this evening and she closed the windows on her laptop really quickly. She's hiding something.